You're going to say a lot. I'm going to give you the floor for a minute.
How do I miss shit?
All right, we're live. What's going on, everybody? Ryan the Mighty Quinn here, the Cornerman _ MMA, with two good friends of mine, two of my favorite people in mixed martial arts. Ruthless, Elle Wagman, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
And KRock, Kayla, Hracho, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Can't complain.
All right. Well, you have the floor. Tell us a little about something. Tell what's on your mind.
You want to talk to me?
I'm just kidding. For those of you just watching, she was just saying earlier how she doesn't want to be bothered with that stuff. But no. So this is actually the first time I'm doing this, and I know Elle, I spoke with you briefly about it on Tuesday afternoons on my lunch break. I'm flipping the phone screen around. I'm flipping my laptop on. I'm going to start doing like a lunch hour, just talking mixed martial arts. And there's a lot going on, especially now that I think it'd be a lot of fun. It's going to be fun for me, and hopefully it'll take off. And plus, that's kind of the dead hour for all the big name MMA media branches. So hopefully it'll work out for me. But before we get into it, first, we're definitely going to talk UFC 280. It's going to be most of the conversation. But last night, the UFC released the information that there's a new fighter code of conduct where they are no longer allowed. Their fighters on the roster are no longer allowed to bet on the on fights within the UFC. Now, I couldn't find anything specific to it. Now, but actually, I'm glad the two of you were on right now because sometimes when you're in the gym, you find out about this stuff a day or two before. Actually, it's funny. Sometimes you find out a day or two before. Sometimes you're training with someone and you don't know until you see it on the internet.
Yeah.
But was this talk within the gym the last couple days?
We were kind of talking about it on the way down here, but I haven't really heard a whole lot of people talking about it other than online.
Yeah.
But we were kind of chatting about it as well, and like it's like Kayla was saying, like she's surprised it hasn't happened sooner, and I kind of am too because like it is a thing in almost every major sports organization. Like NFL players aren't allowed to bet on football, NBA players can't bet on basketball, so I'm not surprised that it's happening. However, it is a little disappointing since as a major sports organization, our athletes also don't have a lot of the benefits that the NFL players and NBA players have. They have unions, they have health coverage, they have, base pay of $600K, like it's definitely like, I'm not surprised, but it's disappointing that if we're going to be like, oh, okay, well, all these other sports have these rules too, so you have to follow them as well, that they aren't at least reaping the same benefits,
Absolutely. I'm like you. I was surprised that it didn't happen sooner. I think that more or less because of, like you said, UFC is trying so hard to be like these other mainstream sports, and they have this rule in place. I don't know how familiar the two of you are with Pete Rose from the '70s. Betting on baseball, and then he got banned from baseball.
Yep.
It's just it's not that it's so accessible to gamble on these fights within like you and I. It's for everybody. It's like this in baseball too. It's accessible for everybody. Everyone can get a bookie. I do know though, like it's very interesting how like I'm really happy that this happened. Like I'm thinking of when Rampage fought Chuck Liddell. This is what made me think of that. I remember Tito Ortiz was really good friends with Rampage. He bet on Chuck Liddell and he went public about it, and it's kind of like, ooh, that's kind of messed up. And then I remember hearing from people outside the sport. I remember that fight was on a Saturday, as all the UFCs are, and I was working at a gym that Sunday. And I remember hearing like old timers that are like these big baseball. Oh, you see that these guys are betting against their friends. It's like, well, I mean, it's part of it, like.
Yeah.
But to your point, there's a lot more added to why it's easy to make that decision in other sports, without the fighters unions and everything like that. I was just very interested. It's really crazy too that they put it in play like right before a big UFC. Obviously this was something that was in the works, but it's pretty crazy that it went into play a few days before UFC 280. That's really all I had to say about that. I definitely wanted to touch on that a little bit. I mean, I know that, it's common knowledge throughout gyms that fighters bet. It is what it is. I haven't really seen a whole lot of it with coaches, but I've seen a lot with fighters. Now, all right, let's get right to it. The main event of the week, so to speak, for mixed martial arts, UFC 280 in Dubai. So happy it's on early. I love the early cards. that
Same.
really helps me. I don't stay awake that way. I mean, it must be great for you guys too. Shower up at the gym and go watch the UFC. Uh, Give me. I want both of you. Elle, we'll go with you first. What's your sleeper fight for the evening or for the afternoon, rather?
And my sleeper fight is oh my gosh, I was just looking at it. We pull up the card. It's a bunch of long names that I always forget. Caio Borralho, and he's fighting another Russian. And it's a great fight. You've got, and I'm having a brain fart on his name right now.
I'm looking.
Caio Borralho, who is super exciting.
I know you're talking about.
I think he's going to do super well too, because I know the other guy whose name I can't remember struggled with Gerald Mearshart. Gerald subbed him, and I think that, and he's a super dangerous guy too, so he can absolutely he can knock Caio out. Caio's a super exciting grappler. He's not a lay and pray kind of guy. He does damage on the feet. He does damage on the ground. He transitions super well. I think that fight is going to be super exciting, and it's on the undercard. There's not a lot of fights I'm not excited for.
It's Makhmud Muradov.
Muradov. Yes, that guy.
Middleweight fight.
Yeah, super exciting fight.
Yeah, that was my second pick, but I'll get into that in a minute. Kayla, you're up next, or do you agree? Do you agree with Elle?
Sleeper fight. What is this? Like the fight that people are sleeping on? Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Actually, Kayla, you got to give me 3 sleeper fights.
What? No way. I'm gonna go with my easy choice because I feel like no one will pick this, or this card is so stacked, so
yeah,
it's hard. But I'm gonna say the women's fight that's on the main card.
Manon Fiorot.
Yeah, Katlyn Chookagain. I'm a big Chookagain fan. A lot of people aren't. I think she's pretty underrated as a fighter, which is funny because she's ranked #1 in the world. So not too often you see someone who's been relatively dominant in her career, and people don't tend to hold her too high of a standard. But yeah, her versus Manon I think is going to be a really good fight.
Yeah, Manon is tough too.
I'd say the winner is probably going to get the next title shot, or they're going to fight Grasso, which excites me a lot because I'm a big Grasso fan too. I'm going to go with Katlyn based on experience, but that's my sleeper fight.
I am a big Chookagain fan. I love watching her fight. She's just so damn tough. And she, like you said, very underrated. She's always in there with another name, and for some reason, it just doesn't register that Katlyn Chookagain is a name. We do, but we know it, but why doesn't the rest of the world? I think that all the time when I see this girl, and especially with her experience, there's something to be said about fight experience and rounds experience. When you're adding up the rounds like she does, she's seen a lot of different situations in game scenarios, and she's just ready for so much stuff. I'm a big Chookagain fan, and I think it's going to be her coming out after her coming out party.
I think people underestimate her because she doesn't finish girls. She takes everyone to decision. People look at her as a point fighter, and I think that they don't really respect that too much. But I personally think if you're fighting all people in the top 10, top 5, you're fighting the best in the world every single time you fight, and you're winning, you're beating pretty much all of them. That to me is super impressive. She's had a really long career in the UFC, and I don't know why people keep doubting her. It surprises me.
She impressed me a lot against Hebus. I did not. I remember we talked about that fight, and I did not expect her to do well.
Yeah, Hebus brought the dog out of her a little bit.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, that was very impressive. That what you just hit on is really sensitive to me because I'm someone who I was only the favorite in 3 of my fights my whole career, and I remember when I went against those people you said that I was fighting head above me. I had to win conventionally, and that's what she's doing. You can only do so much. You can't go and start swinging for the fences against the Cy Young Award winner. You gotta really just pick your spots. And that's what she's doing. She's not saying no to any of these fights either. People the UFC is giving her a full plate and she's finishing, or finishing her plate, not finishing the fight. But so I think that that's why I'm a big Chookagain fan. I think because I see that she's winning these fights. She's playing the hand that she's dealt, and that's what she's doing.
Yeah, the UFC is definitely not doing her any favors.
No,
and she's done really, really well. And I think she keeps getting better.
Absolutely. My sleeper card, my sleeper pick is Nurmagomedov and Omagadziev.
Yeah.
I have that. Is that
Okay.
Omar Gadziev? Yeah.
Omar. Yeah.
I just feel like we're gonna see which wall is going to break. You know, like who
Yeah.
is going like it's two bulls coming at each other, and who's going to adjust? Who's going to tweak and go around? That's what I think is going to happen. We're going to see. We're going to see 13 minutes of that until somebody gets finished. That's what I think is going to happen. That's why I'm well. And they both fought tough dudes. They're I mean they're on the undercard. They're not in the realm where if you lose you're out, but they
Right.
both are in a part where they gotta shit or get off the pot, so to speak, in this game. And I think that this fight is going to project one of them forward, and I'm really looking forward to it. So in no particular order, let's just talk about the main card. Sorry, so much to choose from.
Yeah.
What's one thing that stands out to you, El?
I think everybody's forgetting that Gamrot and Beneil Dariush are on this card because we've got 2 title fights. Sean O'Malley is on the card. Like everybody's forgetting about Gamrot and Dariush, and that is such an amazing fight. Like
Yeah.
Armin and Gamrot was probably one of my favorite fights in the last 2 years. Like the grappling exchanges, the scrambles. It was one of the fastest paced grappling heavy fights I've ever seen. It was so much fun to watch, and this is going to be very similar. I don't think Dariush scrambles quite as well as Armin. I think he's a more positionally sound. But it's going to be very similar to that fight. And I think everybody's forgetting that that's on this card.
Yeah. We're going to do the best we can not to get into the picks because we're going to do our picks for Betting Bananas. Those of you watching Betting Bananas, our podcast is going to be posted on Thursday with the Fight Bananas crew. I know it's hard not to allude to it with the way we think fight's going. I think that that opens up the main card, I believe. And I think that there was no accident in that aspect right there. I think that what we're going to see is the adjustments that Dariush needs to make is he needs to figure out how to slow down Gamrot, and not even in the grappling realm. He's going to have to figure out how to jab and keep winning the jab game. I know that's so cliche to say, but that's really going to be so important for somebody like that in this fight, because I feel like once Gamrot, which I've seen him adjust where he comes forward, I've seen him, and then, okay, I got to move my head and move my head with punches. And once he gets into that zone where he can time that, it's going to be a long day. I just feel like you said, he's going to win those grapplings. He's so damn strong. I think he'll win the grappling exchanges, but I think that if Dariush could just establish the striking and keep him at bay to start, that'll open it up. The next fight that jumps out at me is obviously Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling.
You mean Sean
love
O'Malley?
That fight. Absolutely love that fight. No, not Petr Yan. Sorry. Sean O'Malley. O'Malley. Yeah.
I was like, which fight? Because he's on the card too. Which fight are we talking about?
That was this summer. I think that we're going to see if Sean O'Malley's for real. I know that we've knocked him prior, and I think that he needs to show it quick against the Petr Yan.
Yeah.
So, but I'm really looking forward to that. Petr Yan's another one who's he comes forward, and he's so good with too. Like I know Sean is going to want to see Petr like run into a right hand, which might happen. Sean does have, as much as I knock the kid, he's got a pretty solid straight
great counter striking. Yeah. Great counter striking. I can't talk.
But Petr is so good at coming forward, stopping, and just making you like painting to that wall. Like he's not going to rush too hard.
And I think one of the big things too is he doesn't bite on the feints. He never bites on the feints, and that's how Sean O'Malley gets people to run into things. It's that like in and out, and that like he almost like that twitchiness.
Yeah. It's going to be. We're going to see before contact's even made. We're going to see which direction that fight's going. Pretty much. That's how I feel. What do you think, Kay?
I think O'Malley's lucky it's a 3-round fight. That's for sure. I think that's if anything, that's definitely a huge advantage for him. But Yan is too good. Yan is too good.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. It's almost like even if Yan gets him up against the fence, it's like I don't see like I just don't see Sean like doing the hand fighting, like the pummeling to get out. I just see him like hanging down there, going to the ref, or whoa, even if it gets there, like it just that mindset. But And then, all right. I mean, all I've been thinking about is the main event I saw this morning. I know we're jumping around the card. I know. Charles Oliveira I actually saw as an underdog.
Yeah.
I was real surprised to see that. Again, I don't want to get into the picks there, but I was real surprised to see that. How do you guys feel that fight's going to play out?
I'm so excited about this fight, and I think there's a lot of value in Charles just because he's an underdog. I won't give my full breakdown because I know we got betting bananas coming up, but I honestly, this is a fight that can end any way.
Yeah.
It can go, either guy can win a decision, either guy can finish. It's just, it's one of those things. It's so hard to say. It's just going to be really great. We're either going to get a round and a half of awesomeness or 5 rounds of awesomeness. It's going to be a great fight either way.
It's going to be awesome left or right. Diego Ferrer just commented, does that fight end in KO or decision? I believe you were talking about the fight. Oh no, you were talking about the one right now. You're going to have to tune into Betting Bananas tomorrow, bud. we're going to get into that. But I just, this is the most I'll give is I feel like for Charles, Charles doesn't get steamrolled. And I feel like in order for him to lose this fight, that's what's going to happen. But he doesn't have that style where he gets steamrolled. His hips are too good. It's anyway. That's what I'll get. I don't want to give out too much. So, but and then we have Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. I have a feeling that Aljamain, he's extremely athletic. I feel like that the range game is going to be what's the play there.
Yep.
And I think that TJ is very good with moving his head and striking. I remember when he beat who did he beat early on in his career? Crap, who was it? Anyway, I just he's just real good with 1-2 bop bop 1-2 bop bop.
The angle.
And he's gonna yes, but I think that Aljamain, he could do that angle. He can do it a little bit quicker. So another person that's going to need to utilize that jab a little bit more is TJ. I think that TJ should probably try to throw 3 jabs to one to Aljamain's 1 that every round in order to win that fight. But again, we're going to see early on, like you said, 1.5 rounds of awesomeness or 5 rounds of awesomeness. I think that's going to be in the same boat.
Yeah, I agree. I think TJ has I think the longer the fight goes on, the more that works in TJ's favor. Because I do think he tends to get a little bit stronger as the fight goes on. If he can fight the early takedowns, that's a fight to look at the live lines as well. I'll get more into that when we do betting bananas. But if you see TJ stuffing shots early, that bodes well for him later in the fight.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's going to be so. I love me being a coach too. I love seeing adjustments made, and this is up and down the card. We've talked about it for the last 18 minutes. Who's going to make what adjustments? And that does fall on the fighter, but it really falls on the coaches, right? What are you seeing that the fighter needs to do differently? I love seeing that now. When you're separated from the game and you start watching this, that's the stuff you're interested in. All right. I mean, that's more or less. What else do we miss here on the main card?
I think we talked we covered O'Malley. We talked about the main event.
The only other one is the female fight, but we kind of already touched on that.
Yeah. We kind of covered the whole main card.
Wow. Awesome. Great. Another thing I wanted to talk about is other fights announced that are coming up. UFC, Bellator, whatever. I think that December is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I just all around. I'm really looking forward to Danny Sabatello versus Ruben Stotts. I was actually just texting with him a minute ago about something. I hope Danny just he's going to get that belt. I can't wait. Other fights that were announced. Oh, Tai Tuivasa. He's fighting. What was his name? I know I was going to forget, so I have it right here.
I just saw it too.
Sergey Pavlovich. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically is Sergey going to be able to close the distance correctly? I feel like Ty's just so that he's so athletic for his build. We'll just say it nicely, and just the spinning stuff. You can't you can't time it. I think that fight is that's the fight I'm looking forward to the most in December. Obviously, I'm a good friend with Glover Teixeira, that fight too, but as far as being a fan is concerned, that's the fight I'm looking forward to most to finish out the year.
Yeah, I don't get super excited for a lot of heavyweight fights, to be honest, but I always get excited when Glover fights at 205. I always get excited when but oh, what was I gonna say? I'm having a brain fart on names again. But Ty is one of those guys that can be super exciting, or he'll get tired really, really fast, and it's not so exciting of a fight. But I think if he comes out hard, I feel like he can time almost anybody in that weight class, because not a lot of guys move super quickly for extended periods of time throughout the heavyweight division, you know?
Yeah.
So he's a heavyweight that I really enjoy watching.
Even that last fight with Cyril Gain, I was like, wow, Cyril Gain's the truth, and he was he had his moments. Now I'm looking at this UFC Orlando card now. I think I might have to get up there. Stephen
I'm gonna try and
Thompson.
go too.
Yeah. Stephen Thompson, Kevin Holland, Ty and Sergey.
Yep.
RDA versus Brian Barberina, Derek Brunson, Jack Hermanson, and then Angela Hill's on the card. Natan's on the card. All right. Oh,
Yeah.
Amanda and Tracy. Yeah. This card's.
Oh yeah, Amanda Hibis.
There's
Yes,
Clay
fighting
Guida.
Tracy Cortez. That's a great fight. There's gonna be some good grappling in that fight.
Yeah. UFC Orlando does it. Does it well. And then what? Oh yeah. And then December is also. There's one other fight.
DP.
Yep. Yeah. Dustin's.
DP. That's right. And Michael.
DP.
That's right. November. I completely skipped.
I'm super
November.
excited for that matchup. That's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, I remember when Michael signed, I was like, that fight's gonna happen. I was like, that fight is bound to happen.
Dude, the top 5 at 55, if they could just round robin each other for the next 2 years, I would love that. There's just all those fights are fantastic.
I always say in situations like that reminded me of Bellator's welterweight division a few years ago, and it's like it's the ultimate game of rock paper scissors. That's the best way to put it. Like there's so many good people. It's like, what night is it? And it's similar to I know you guys know about wrestling. Top 8 in the country is All American. It's not uncommon where number 8 loses in overtime to number 1. And it's like that. And it's really insane. Just so much to look forward to round this year out. And I don't know what else you guys got before we close up. I know I said it was going to be 30 minutes, but we kind of covered a lot.
No, you're good. I can't think of anything else, man. You touched on everything. We kind of did a little preview for the rest of the year. I'm kind of surprised there aren't more cards in December, which kind of bums me out, but I'm hoping that means that they're going to open January with just some killer fights.
Now, I remember, and Diego's saying more here. Diego is one of the biggest fans on my page. Love you, brother. So he's like, so excited for Ty. I will actually be at that fight. All right. Well, if I'm there, we're going to have to meet up. If you end up going, would love to meet you too, as I just said. So what was I going to say? I remember back in the day when the UFC was only $40 to buy, to age myself. But I remember that they used to have a big Super Bowl weekend card, Vegas, a Halloween card, and a July card, obviously, and they always did a pretty big holiday card. And there seems to be a little bit more these days, but those were the 4 tent poles. Now I feel like they've been doing a good one in the spring. I feel like as well. Not so much Super Bowl weekend, but more towards Q2 of the year. So we'll have to pay attention to that and see what's going on there. But anyway, ladies, thank you so much for coming on. If you ever want to do it again, it's going to be every Tuesday, 12:30, 12:45. And I will see you soon, all right? Oh, Elle, I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow, yep.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
Later.